Hello and welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to make a video today talking about indie publishing and the things I have learned. Coincidentally, it's just past my anniversary of being an indie author. I just decided to make this video because I thought it would be good, because I was thinking about this and I have written and published 50 books, which is a lot and it's amazing and wow when I look at that. But what I also realise is that I have experience and tips and things I can share with people. So this is what I'm doing. Little bit of history if you've not heard it. I published my first book back in April of 2012, so it's just been my 12-year anniversary, which is mind-boggling in itself. When I put my first book out, and this is probably going to be kind of like an experience, I didn't struggle so much hitting publish. In fact, that was really excited. I got my book ready. I was like, right, I'm going to do it on this day, and I did it and it was really exciting. I had a friend with me and I hit publish. It was like, oh my gosh, my book is up. And then we were waiting for Amazon to publish it, and then it went live and it was like super exciting. And then I got a sale and then I became afraid. This self-doubt kicked in as if, oh my god, what are you doing? Why do you think you have the right to publish your book? Who said you are good enough for those books to be out there? Who's gonna want to read what you've written? Why is anybody gonna care? Oh my god, they're gonna hate you. Look at what you've done. This was my brain and I wanted to unpublish that book so fast. And every day I woke up with this feeling inside of like, I just need to take this book down. If I just got rid of this book, I'd get rid of all this chatter in my head. I didn't. I left the book up. First month sold 11 copies of my book, and 11 was a really good number. That was without any kind of promotion or anything like that, because I just like didn't want to tell people my book was out. I kind of tickled it in some of the Facebook groups, because back then sharing your book in Facebook groups and word of mouth and posting on Twitter and all that stuff was kind of how you got people to learn about your books. It felt so much easier back then. And so that gave me a little bit of confidence boost. Second month I started shouting about my book. I still felt like a fraud and an imposter, and spoiler alert, still feel like an imposter. I don't think that ever goes. But I shared my book, and though I think it's about 800 or 900 copies in my second month, which was fantastic and wild and crazy. And yeah, so that was 12 years ago, and we're in 2024 as I record this, and 50 books. It feels so wild to say that, and I never back in those days would have thought I'd be sitting here doing this. But yeah, so I just wanted to share some experience that I've got and tell you some of the lessons I've learned. One of the biggest things I will always say to people is do not read your reviews. I remember when I published that first book, I used to check for reviews every single day, and every time a new review came in, it was like, oh my god, they love me. Like, it's so great. They love my book, and I would be on top of the world. But I remember when my first 1-star review came in, and I was absolutely heartbroken. I sat there staring at the screen, unable to believe what I was reading that someone was saying about my book. You know, they were saying how awful it was and all these mean things. I can't even remember the exact contents of it now, but it just broke my heart, and I felt so unworthy and so ashamed, and back to that I just wanted to delete my book. And it didn't matter how many 4 and 5-star reviews I had and all the other good stuff that people had been saying and messages and emails I'd been getting, that 1-star review was the one that made me think maybe I should give up writing. And I realise now, why would I give anyone that power to take away my joy? So I see all the time people saying authors should have a thick skin, and you know, there's a whole controversy at the moment about a writer who wrote a book dedicated to one of their reviewers and saying, you know, authors are such babies. But the thing is, we're people, and I'm not going to get into a rant about all of that, because we put our hearts and souls into these books, and when we put them out into the world and you get a 1-star review, it can feel like a personal attack even if they don't say anything to you. And I know it can for me, and I even now 12 years on cannot stand reading my 1-star reviews. There is nothing to be gained from them for me other than pain and taking of the joy in my life. So I just don't read them, and that is the advice I would give to anyone. Just don't read your reviews. Reviews are not for you. They're not even for other readers. They are just opinions. Every single review you see on a book is completely subjective. I have books that I have read that are widely popular, #1 bestsellers. You know, there's a certain vampire book that I can't stand. There is a certain erotic romance book that just wasn't my thing. I tried them, didn't like them, didn't finish them, but I never left a review, because to me reviews are just somebody else's opinion, especially when it's on books. I'm not talking about TVs and toasters and products, but especially on books. The reviews are someone's opinion. So your book might not have been the right book for that person. And I had one person who read in one of my series, they read the first book, didn't like it, they 1-star reviewed that book. They then read the second book and 1-star reviewed that book, and read the third book and 1-star reviewed that book. And at this point I was thinking, why do you keep reading my book if you don't like them, you know? So yeah, I made this deal myself. I'm just never going to check it. Now, people will tell you that you can learn a lot from reading your negative reviews, because they will tell you, I know you might have 10 negative reviews that say they didn't feel any depth from this character, or they didn't like such and such, and so it might be what comes in those 1-star reviews might teach you how to improve your writing. Sure. For me, that's personally not good enough. How much can I learn from my readers? It's going to be very rare. Most people, if they're leaving 1-star reviews, they tend not to be very nice about it. I'm not going to learn anything that I don't know myself is a problem, and so yeah, I just don't read them. If I do need to go to my reviews, and it's usually because I'm making like a Facebook advert or an Amazon advert, and I'm just, you know, scouring to pull some snippets out, I will filter my reviews to the 4 or 5 stars only and go and pull stuff out of those. And that's it. That's the only time I'll go near my reviews. And the other one I will say is, do not go near Goodreads reviews, because those people are brutal. So definitely don't read Goodreads. So don't read your reviews. Another one is, don't compare yourself to others. You might have heard this one a lot. Comparison is such a big killer. So I am a member of a ton of author groups, writer groups. People share their journeys. They are amazing places to learn, but people also share their achievements, which are amazing as well. You know, I've got an author who I'm friends with on Facebook, a lady called Lyra Parrish. Every time I see her posting, she's finished another book. It's amazing. I just love her energy. And it could be so easy for me to like compare to her, that, well, why can't I write as fast as she can, when we're just two different people. And it's the same in these groups. You see people posting about how they wrote their first book and it went to #1 in the charts and they made $30,000 in their first month. Well, good for them. And I mean that in the nicest way. And you're there slaving away. You've got 10 books out. You're lucky if you're making $100 a month. What are you doing wrong? The answer is maybe nothing. The thing is, we only see people's curated lives on social media. We do not know everything that goes into whatever that success is. And we might not even actually want that success. I got into this thing where I found myself feeling pretty crap because I was watching what other people were doing and I wasn't achieving the same level of success as they are. You know, they were being invited to conferences to speak, going on podcasts. I'm thinking, why do I never get that? I am a full-time writer. I've written this many books. I have all this experience. And I was like, do I actually want that? And I don't know. Sure, if the opportunities came up, I would enjoy them. But I'm like, they're not my goals. Why am I even thinking about this? So that's what I would say, is don't compare yourself to others. Everybody's journey is completely different. Your journey is your journey. My journey is my journey. And it's like I can sit here and tell you that I've written 50 books, which I have, and that I've published them, and that I am a full-time writer. What I didn't tell you is that 13, 14 years ago, I took voluntary redundancy from my job. At the time, I was suffering really bad with my mental health. Redundancy opportunities came up. I took it. I had 4 children at home. Being a stay-at-home mum was what worked for me at the time, but I also wasn't feeling very good in my head. So, you know, you don't know that bit of the story. I then started to write my book. You don't see the journey that I am a super fast typer. That's just me. I can write fast. I also really enjoy dictation. I can dictate 4, 5, 6,000 words in an hour. So that gets my word counts up really high. I also don't correct anything when I'm typing. I literally vomit my words onto the page. It's just my style. It's what suits me. journey, you don't see that I work 16-hour days and sometimes sit in a corner in tears thinking, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. You don't see that. When I make the declaration of I've written 50 books and I'm a full-time author, I am not giving you everything else that's gone into that journey. And it's been a very big roller coaster, up and down journey. There have been tears of joy, there have been tears of despair, there have been tantrums. There's been me saying to my husband, don't know if I can do this anymore, why am I even trying, I'm just not good enough. There have been moments where I thought I could just go out and get a job, get an easier job than this, than sitting in my office by myself and writing and feeling like the worst person ever. You know, I've had fallouts, there's so much stuff gone into this journey, but I could just say I've written 50 books and I'm a full-time author. So what I'm saying to you is don't compare yourself to other people, because everybody else's journey is completely different, and what people are sharing on social media is never ever the full story. The next one I'm going to say to you is remember you are a business, and this kind of like comes with a warning, because you have to remember to keep it fun. Writing is fun, but you also have to remember you're a business, and especially if you're going to do this for a living and publishing, and because I'm an indie author, so this is my living, I have to remember I am a business. And in doing that, you have to remember how to present yourself on the likes of social media. This is one of the things I see. Like, we all have opinions on these really controversial topics like abortions, transgender, gender fluidity, religion, politics, wars. We've all got opinions on those. But before you go blasting on your social media, your author social media, ask yourself, is this relevant to my business? I never share my opinions of these things on my author platform. I have them, but I'm never going to share them on here. I will never share them in my business. They are for discussions with my husband, with my friends, or whatever, people in my personal life. So when I say remember your business, it is remember to conduct yourself like a business, because you are the main representative of your business. And the other one is, in treating yourself like a business, is that you are the person that makes all the decisions of your business. You are the one that does all your finances, you know, whether you decide to get an accountant and stuff like that. So it is making that transition from being hobbyist writer to business person, because you have to wear many hats in this industry. You are the person who commissions the editor, commissions the person to get your book cover, make your book cover. You do it all. So you have to treat yourself like a business. And the other part of treating yourself like a business is treating yourself like you're going to work at your business. So I'm lucky enough to be a full-time author, which means I work from home. And it would be so easy for me to just lay in bed every morning and get up when I want and go to my office and write when I felt like it. But that won't actually get the books done, because I will fall into this don't feel good enough, don't feel like it, and I won't write my books. And it's one of the key tips, and I think it was, I saw Matt Shaw talk about this years ago, that he said he kept office hours with himself. That's what I do. I have to keep office hours. I'm not so good at the finishing work at the end of the day office hours, but I do keep the getting into my office hours. So when say treat your work writing like a business, that's the kind of thing I mean. But this leads me into the other thing of still remember to make it fun. Because if you lean too much into the business model of your writing, you can get into the trap of chasing the money, chasing the numbers, and that kills your creativity. I can tell you, if you are looking at your follower count, your sales count, sales numbers, follower numbers, subscriber numbers, all these numbers that you actually have no control over, it can be so easy to try to chase them, to focus your attention on just trying to get those numbers to increase. So it's a balance on this business. So this is why I'm going to say, just remember to try and not step too much into the business brain. Which leads me on to the other thing I have learned, and that is keep your books in your mindset as if you are a reader. You have to be your biggest fan, and this goes across the board with being online, chatting to your readers, marketing your books, talking to other authors when you are at conferences or whatever, and how you think about your books. Keeping your books in your mind as if you are a reader of your books and you are your biggest fan is one of the best things you can do for yourself. And I'll give you an example of this. If you have just finished a book and it's like the best book on the planet and you want your friend to read it, do you go to your friend, you should really read this book, it's free on Kindle Unlimited and it has 5,000 reviews and Richard and Judy said blah 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 about it? Is that how you think about the book you've just read? Or if you have just read a book and it's amazing, do you go to your friend like, oh my god, you have to read this book, it's about such and such thing? For example, I've just not long finished Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I absolutely love that book. It gave me a huge book hangover. It's Kenna and Ledger, and Kenna has just got out of prison. She was sent to prison for manslaughter of her boyfriend. When she went to prison, she didn't know she was pregnant. The baby lives with his parents, and it's more than just manslaughter. There's more. It's a very complicated what happened to her and why she got sent to prison. And it's such a heart-wrenching story. It's like as Ledger learns what happened to his friend and everyone that hates her, and kind of like they realise what happened and everything she's been through. It just like you would cry. So you really, really need your tissues to read this book. And do you see how I was sold that book? And that is how I told my daughter to read the book. You have to be the biggest fan of your book and you have to be enthusiastic about it. And I'm not talking and shove it in everybody's faces.
Oh my god, go read my book.
All the time. Nobody wants that. But when you are trying to sell your book, when you are talking about your book, when you are writing your book, or you're doing anything with your book, you need to do it with the enthusiasm of the world's biggest fan of you and that book. And I heard someone say that you need to channel your inner teenager, and that was like the best thing ever, because if you've ever written when you were a teenager, I know I wrote as a teenager, and oh my gosh, the drama I put into my books. I had everything. Everybody had like really shattered pasts. I like writing supernatural things, so there was werewolves and vampires and witches and fairies, and they had all this stuff going on in their lives, and but the more injured my hero could be, the more I got into writing it. And if you look at the charts, that's actually what sells. And I heard this tip from someone a while ago, and I was like, oh my god, that is exactly it. So when you are writing your book, promoting your book, you have to think of it as you are your biggest fan, but you are your biggest fan as a teenager, and you just have to get so enthusiastic about everything that's in your book. That is one of the best things, because back on my last tip of the business, it can be so easy to fall into the business brain and to chase the numbers. And believe me, because I did this for a couple of years where I was just chasing the numbers and trying to write the perfect book to make all the sales. It just killed it for me. It took away the fun and the joy, and yeah, just don't do that to yourself. Another one that I've learned is that community is key. So I shared a video a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, I don't even know, about reading Austin Kleon's book Share Your Work. And the thing about that he talks about is sharing your work online, sharing your process online, creating community and conversation around your work. And this is kind of like the being the biggest fan. And so this is what I would say to you: go and hang out where readers hang out, because chances are you're a reader of these kind of books too, and go and make friends. Not making friends with the idea that you want to sell books, but make a community around your books, around that genre. Like, people will come to you. Make a reader group, hang out there, be there like a reader, like enthuse about your own books. Community has been one of my best things ever, because you make friends through your writing, and a community doesn't have to be 50-60 people, it can just be a couple of people making friends. I used to write years and years ago stories for The Sims, the game, and I met one of my best friends through that. She lived abroad and we used to chat all the time, every single day. We travel to see each other. I have friends who I have met through my writing that I chat to every single day. One of my best friends, who is also a writer, we met back in 2012 when I was sharing my work and my book, and she had also just put out her first book, and she posted something basically about one of her children, and I commented on it and she commented back, and then she messaged me and I messaged her, and so we've had 12 years of friendship. She's one of my biggest supporters. If ever I'm doing anything and I'll be like, oh my god, look at this, and It's the same. It is a fantastic friendship. So create community, create friendships. Sorry about the dogs. Another tip, completely different to the rest kind of, is multiple streams of income. So I listened to the Creative Pen podcast. One of the things she talks about is her history. I think she used to live in Australia and she had a job which she lost through maybe redundancy or it closed. I don't know, but whatever way, the job ended. And with that ended her only source of income. So one of the things I will say to you is have multiple streams of income. There are so many ways that you can bring income in. And in fact, my income is made up by lots of little pots of income that come in and make up the whole picture. So when I'm talking about multiple streams of income, obviously there is your books themselves. They are one of the main streams of income. Sometimes they might not even be the biggest stream of income. There is things like having a YouTube channel, a TikTok shop, a Ream Stories membership program, Substack, Patreon subscription, audiobooks, even having a part-time job out in the real world is an income stream. And diversify your incomes. There are so many ways to do it. Write it on platforms like Medium and LinkedIn. Look around. I'll probably make a video on the streams of income that authors can have. Offering services. Maybe you are good at editing. Maybe you're good at cover design. Maybe you're a good proofreader. Maybe you don't do services online that are book related. Maybe you are crafty and sell your stuff on Etsy. Doesn't matter. I think he's called Clark. He's a YouTuber I watch. Clark Kingsley, maybe. I can't remember his surname. He makes a lot of money selling digital products. You diversify your income stream is one of the things I would say is really good if you are wanting to be an indie author who this is your income comes from. And you know, having a part-time real world job is not a bad thing either. Like, it's a steady income. In fact, I talked about this recently with my brother. He was applying for a new job in the civil service and basically it was my old job, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I should go and apply for that. And my husband was like, no, you would absolutely hate it. But it was tempting because it is a guaranteed, stable source of income, if that makes sense. But I didn't go for it, but the thought was there. So yes, that what I would say is have multiple streams of income, because even if every income stream only earned you $10 a day and you had 10 income streams, that's $100 a day, which is $3,000 a month. Balance is another thing I would say. I have been particularly rubbish at this. Balancing your work life with your personal life. I often joke that I quit the 9 to 5 so I could work 24/7. But that's the thing when you are being an indie author and a writer. It's the most amazing thing. I love it, and I can so easily spend every minute of my day doing it. And then I can wear myself out and go into burnout mode, which does not do me any favours. So yeah. What I would say is try and find balance with your writing and your personal life. Because you are writing at home, it can be so easy to just pop the laptop open in bed and do some writing. But just remember, you can hit a point of diminishing returns. There's only so much writing you can do in the day before you are literally just writing rubbish. So just make sure to keep balancing your professional life with your personal life and time, and don't chase all the things and have it that like every minute of your day is just taken up, because that won't lead to any more good mentally. Be persistent is another one. So years ago when I was writing online, I've talked about this before, I spent about a year writing my stories online and nobody came. I'd get the odd comment here and there, and then all of a sudden it just blew up and it was great. So you have to be persistent. The writer's journey has lots and lots of ups and downs, backwards, forwards, all sorts of things. The industry changes. Just be persistent and keep going in the way that you want to go. So it's so easy to see the latest new trend, like people saying TikTok takes your books off, but maybe TikTok isn't where you want to be. Maybe that's not your kind of thing, but you try it and it feels like a chore all the time. It's just not for you. So be persistent with your way of doing things. And that doesn't mean don't try new things. By all means, do try them. But what I would say is just keep going. If this is the thing you want, even in the hard times when it feels hard, take a little break if you need to. But definitely just keep persisting with it. Another one is, it's actually okay to write rubbish. And I'm not saying that indie author books are rubbish or anything like that, but just allow yourself to write rubbish. Don't sit there and worry over getting the perfect book written. That's just going to lead you like to not writing. It would for me. Allow yourself to just write whatever you want to write and don't worry too much about it. There is always readers out there for whatever kind of books you want to write. I have an author friend who writes erotica and absolutely hates it, but when they started writing, erotica was the big genre. The 50 Shades of Grey books had just come out. Everybody was writing these kind of books, and so they jumped on the writing the erotica books and had a great time and made a great income. Still makes a great income now. Absolutely hates writing the erotica and just can't give it up. And he says to me so often, do you know what, I'd really just love to write a good vampire book. And I keep saying, just go and write a good vampire book. And he never lets himself. He just constantly is like, God, I hate this. And it's, you know, I just want to shake him and go, just go and write what you want to write. And he's like, yeah, but it's crap, nobody reads it. And it's like, so what? So what I would say to you is allow yourself to just write crap books, just get the words out, write what you want, don't worry about what people are going to think about it, just write. Which leads me probably onto the last tip, which is actually just write. That's probably the biggest thing I have. Of all the things that we have to do as indie authors, you know, we have to market our books, be in the community, social media, conferences, live appearances, book signings, do our accounts, do our business stuff, get our author logos, get books formatted, order book covers. There are so many things to do as an indie author, but one of the biggest things that we need to do is write. So that is probably one of the biggest tips I've learned, is to just write your books, prioritize your writing, keep getting the words down, just start writing your book, because without your book, then you don't have an indie career. And I kind of fell into this trap a couple of years ago. I was wanting to write a British crime book because I enjoy reading them, and I was like, I could do this, I think. Maybe I was a bit scared, actually, thinking that I can't do this because I have no experience of being a detective. And for about a year, it took me about a year to get started, because every time I sat down it was just wrong. It just didn't work. I let self-doubt get in my way and listened to it and didn't put any words down on paper and didn't write that book. And I actually took a course with Becca Syme and said this to her, that I wasn't writing, and she was asking why I wasn't writing. And what it was is I had put this barrier in front of me of fear that this book would be good enough. Well, really what I needed to do was to just start writing. And that's what I would say to you. Like, if you are afraid, just start writing. I did in the end. I just started writing the book. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to write it. If it comes out complete and utter rubbish, I can edit that. I can't edit if I don't write it. I can't fix it or anything like that. So I did just start writing it. It's out. It's Jigsaw Girl, shameless plug. And I've just commissioned the cover for the second one, which I'm super excited to start. But if you don't just start, you won't have the book. But that is the things I have learnt in the last 12 years. I mean, I have learnt, there's so many more things I could tell you. I could just go in to all of this. Like, one of the tips actually that I've forgotten is it's never too early to start your social media journey, by the way. So this goes into the community one. So I'm just going to nip this in at the end because I forgot about it. To share your work video that I made, and I'll link it for you to watch. It talks about this more in depth, so go and have a watch of that. But it's never too early to start your author platforms, whatever that is, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you like hanging out. It's never too early to go and get on those platforms and start enthusing about your book. That's one of the tips I actually forgot and didn't have written down on my list, but yeah, go and watch that video about sharing your work. But I'm going to go now and get back to the writing. But like I said, there are so many more tips I could share, and I might do another one later, but these are the ones when I decided to sit down and what things would I tell someone if they asked me. These are the things I would talk about primarily. So I hope they've been helpful to you. Just before I go, I just want to say I have a little writer community group that I'm just trying to grow as a, not for readers but for other writers, and I would love if you would like to join me there. It's only little at the moment, but I'm hoping to grow it. It's just like a safe space for writers where we could just talk about writing and our productivity and getting the words down. I'll leave a link down below. You are welcome to come and join me and introduce yourself, and don't be afraid to post. It's not a promo group for books and stuff like that. It's none of that. It's just for writers, and yeah, I'd really like it if you join me on there and we can make it into our own little community. So I'm going to go. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, hit like and subscribe and all that other stuff, and I will see you in the next video.